Is this my third time filming this video? Yes. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss out major parts to the story. It's not a story, it's my life. If you're new here, hello, which most people are because, hi, my name is Brhianna. Before I share who I am, I'm gonna have to share who I was. And the Lord has been asking me to share my testimony / background story since 2023, to be really honest. And I'm just not that type of person because I think nobody cares. But Jesus cares, so that's why I'm doing it. So we start at age 5, the start of consciousness. I used to go to this Pentecostal church, Caribbean mainly, and I used to go with my mum and my sisters. I was part of the youth choir. I have separated parents, so my parents co-parented. Even in school, I was a bubbly kid, an expressive kid. I loved to perform, loved to dance, loved to sing. Very sporty, very athletic, and smart as well. Despite my English language, we're not going to talk about her. Other than that, very smart, very academic. Some of my earliest memories, when I was in the youth choir, there was a girl, she was a little bit older than me. I remember one rehearsal we had, I'm like 5, 6 at the time. She had written a song about Jesus. And I was like, I wish I was able to do that. Like, to have such a love for Jesus and to write a song about him, like, I want to be able to do that. Because me, it was just, you know, you get given the song, you learn the song, you sing the song in front of the church. Like, that's just how it was. So the fact that she wrote a song and we sung the song, I was like, wow, like I want to do that. But I was really young, so I was like, I didn't really pursue that thought. I remember when I was like 6 or 7, like they had a baptism and there were like 18, 19-year-olds getting baptized. And I remember thinking, like, this is so crazy to say, but I remember thinking, like, how do you know you want to make such a dedication to Jesus at such a young age? Like, mind you, I'm a child, but I was saying this about, like, you haven't even experienced life yet. You haven't made your mistakes. Like, how have you decided that that's what you want to do yet? Crazy. Like, that was a thought of a 6, 7-year-old. And I just remember it so vividly. I remember the girl, she had a black tee on and these cargo pants, and then she said her name and that she was 18. I was like, 18. Moving on was, you know, praised, loved. Everybody showered me with compliments. So quickly, my identity was tied to success for how well I was doing at things, because I used to do singing clubs in school, and like when they would do like singing in like assembly, I was like the loudest singer, and the teachers would be like, you sung beautifully, stuff like that. I got very used to it. Around age 9, 10, I start being a bit more self-aware, and adults started making comments about my appearance. Many people used to compare me to my dad. Now, whilst I know I look like my father, as a young girl who already feels like she's not chosen, I wasn't the curly-haired, light-skinned girl with the beautiful eyes. I was just a little black kid, and that wasn't favourable. So I've already accepted the society norms, and the people around me are feeding it as well. So I was very self-conscious of my appearance, of my weight, and I started to become insecure at a very young age. I'm talking age 9 onwards. I'm saying onwards because it's still very apparent. When I got to around age 9, 10, I went to secondary school early because my secondary school was from year 5 to year 11. Then we moved church, which was mostly West African. There wasn't really much. I was just stuck in Sunday school, and I didn't like being in Sunday school because I was like 10. I was like, why am I in Sunday school with like 3 to 5-year-olds? Like, it just was so annoying to me. Early secondary school was okay. Like year 5, year 6 was okay. I remember during that time in that church, it was one Christmas, and the choir basically allowed like all the other girls to sing a song, so we did Silent Night. Obviously my family members knew I could sing, but it just wasn't something that they forced me to do in front of people. It was kind of just like, if she wanted to, she can do it. My god sister was like, okay, Bree's gonna sing the high part, and I was like, oh, okay. So we come to that Sleep in Heavenly part, right? I remember I sang that and it was quiet when I sang it, but then after, when we were like tidying up the chairs, one of my uncles came up to me and he was like, you should use your voice for God, like you should sing, you should be in the choir, you should be singing like gospel songs. And I was just like, yeah. But I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm not gonna sing gospel songs for the rest of my life. Are you crazy? Moving on. I used to go to this after school performing arts program where you did singing, acting and dancing, right? You know, when they're playing Matilda, Beauty and the Beast, all these musical shows, the little black girl's not gonna get picked as the lead. I get picked as someone in the background because I was tall, or the support. So I started to fall out of love a little bit with being, because I didn't feel chosen. I kind of just accepted being a background character from young. Year 6, so age 10, I was still doing performing arts. I used to travel with my mom to do performing arts. And whilst it was fun, I just felt like, again, background character, like I was just an add-on. I didn't feel like I was really getting to express or explore because I wasn't trusted with bigger roles, kind of thing. So my love for performing arts dwindled. Another thing that happened in year 6 was my school did a talent show and I performed Halo by Beyonce, and the music stopped midway through the performance and I had to sing with no track. The school had to clap to a beat so I could continue singing. And whilst the judges, my music teacher and stuff, were like judging my performance, I was standing there holding the mic shaking because I was like, I want to get off the stage, because it was so embarrassing for me. It was just so traumatic for me. I couldn't listen to that song for a good 2 years without being triggered. Yeah, it was just the start of my hate for performing. The friendships that I made in secondary school weren't the best for my character, I'll be really honest. I started to minimize who I was behind closed doors. If I express myself in this way, I'll get bullied for it. And I was very aware of that. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to express that I like gaming or I'm a little bit of a nerd, or decided to minimize myself to fit into a friend group of people who evidently did not care about me later on. Year 9 is kind of where my self-image kind of took a plummet. I started going through puberty. I was in a group of people where I felt like I was the tall one, the ugly one, the unattractive one, the fat one. Like I was just the odd one out. That took a toll on my self-image even more. And when I tell you, I just became so insufferable to be around. Like I was just negative, moody, always had a miserable face. And then my mum, she became pregnant. I was just so distant. I regret it in the sense of my mum probably needed more support from her own children. I was being extremely selfish at the time because of what I was going through. And that's when I started creating a video diary and a physical diary. My Snapchat, hundreds of videos of me just venting about stuff because I had no one to talk to. I had no, who can I run to? Do you know what I mean? In year 10, I started developing depression. End of 2019, beginning of 2020, January time, I genuinely was having a complete identity crisis and was losing weight and becoming depressed. And then I got boot kicked out of my friend group. I was alone for 2 weeks and I just didn't know who I was anymore. I don't have people to talk to. I don't even know how to express myself. I'm not going to go back to the things that hurt me, performing arts. I'm not going to go back to that because that was too painful. So I was just in this limbo of, what am I doing? Like, what do I do with my life? And my teacher started to notice it and she suggested me to go to counselling within the school. So I started doing that. It was kind of helpful, but then one of my other friends, she was a part of my old friend group, but then she moved before I did and she was like, I haven't seen you around, do you want to join our friend group? And I was like, okay. That's 2020 January, February time. March, lockdown happens and obviously we're in a house and bored and I didn't feel like I could reach out to those friends. So I was kind of just finding any ways to cope with my depression, and I lent on music, comedy shows, a 5-star show to be specific. I started playing The Sims, and yeah, I was just kind of just in my bubble, in my room, started writing music. It was my coping mechanism because I didn't have friends to talk to and my sisters were kind of in their own worlds. I started to gain more of a relationship with my dad and my stepmom because I would go from house to house a bit more. And my stepmom honestly was just a godsend because she was somebody who came a lot later, so I could express my own opinion, my own experience, and I wouldn't get judgment for it because she wasn't there yet. She was just this fresh ears, and I'm extremely grateful for her. Even to this day, like, I think back to like the stuff that I used to just blurt out to her. Like, she must have been like, oh, this girl, another problem. But I'm extremely grateful. 2020, my 15th birthday, my sister was born on my birthday. Yeah, we share a birthday. I didn't meet her for a couple of days, but the day I met her, I just, you know, I didn't even fall in love, but it was just like, I felt unconditional love for the first time. Like, up to then, love has been conditional. It has been, you don't receive it unless you do good. It was always conditional to me and inconsistent. So this was like the first experience of, this person is going to love you no matter what, and you have the chance to experience that. About her being born, it was no longer about me and how I felt about myself and how other people had made me feel. I was like, that's it. This is somebody who's going to love me regardless, and I'm in control of how they view me. Then I went into year 11. Year 11 was kind of chill. There was not much that went on. Still very minimized, but I just knew that it's gonna be over soon. But then the first week of my GCSEs, my uncle died. And whilst I didn't have a close relationship with him, that was where my grief came. Like, my grief was, I don't get to cry about this because I didn't have a close relationship to this man. Like, his siblings, who they deserve to grieve over this, but I was like, you're not deserving of grief. And that's what's so weird about grief, because it's like, he was a constant family member. Like, any family event that went on, he was there. He was a constant. Somebody who you expect to see, somebody who you expect to conversate with. And the thought of that person just not being there was just strange. Like, and it was the morning of one of my exams. My dad texted me. He was like, oh, one of our uncles passed. And I was just like, I can't even cry. Like, I can't break down because I have an exam. I did my GCSEs. My GCSEs were good. I did very good. I decided to go to a sixth form that not many people from my school were going to, because I wanted a clean slate. I wanted to make new friends, new experiences, new everything, and I didn't want anything from my past to follow me. In that first week of school, made a great group of friends, still friends to this day. One of my closest friends, this is around the time where Be Real was a thing, and I was just seeing her life as like a devoted Christian. She was somebody who prayed. She was somebody who, she posted worship music, showed her Bible studies, and she just always had an optimistic view of life. Like, we would go through exams and she'd be like, it's all in God's hands, like, it's out of my control now. And I was just like, that was like my first acknowledgement of somebody having trust in something higher than themselves. That was just so inspiring to me. It was just like, wow, like, all this time I've been relying on myself, and I shouldn't be relying on myself because it's not in my control. That was like, what's going on over there? Let me have some. That was like my first introduction to who Christ is. And I was very open. I was extremely open. I was like, I want to know. And this is 2021 when I started sixth form. It was an academic decline. Sixth form, A-levels, whoo! Wanted to finish me academically, but we got through by the grace of God. In year 13, end of 2022, I was outside, by the way. 2022, I was outside. I was partying. I was underage drinking. I do not recommend. I was going to concerts, doing up staycations with friends, doing the absolute most. Did I enjoy myself? I did enjoy myself. Did I learn a lot about myself? I did learn a lot about myself. I learned that I don't like alcohol. I learned that I don't like partying. And that's okay. We move on. We move. I just remember at the end of 2022, my New Year's resolution was just to get to know who Jesus was. I wasn't dedicating my life or anything. I was like, I want to get to know. I want to know what's going on over there. 2023, I just kept seeing more and more of who Christ was. But at the start of 2023, I need to say this. In January, my friend group was a mixed friend group, so it was equal amount of boys and girls. And one of the guys made a comment. It triggered one of my childhood traumas about my self-image, because as a kid, like, adults always used to say, oh, that's her dad's mini-me. They always used to say, you look just like your dad. And as a girl, like, that just takes a toll, because it's like, I don't want to look like a man. I want to look like a girl. I want to be girly. I want to be pretty. I want to be attractive. Like, what do you mean I look like a guy? And it was constant. Like, my mom's nickname was my dad's name. Like, I look like my dad. I'm very aware that I look like my dad. Only recently have I really blossomed into my own face. I still look like him. But as a child, it took a toll on me, because it was like, damn, like, and there were some instances where other kids would come up to me and be like, are you a boy? Because I used to wear trousers and joggers a lot, because I was a tomboy. I didn't like wearing skirts and dresses too much. That was my preference. Yeah, those type of comments took a toll on me, and he triggered that without knowing, because he compared me to my sisters. So basically saying like my sisters were pretty, because he's already seen my other sisters, and that there was something wrong with me. From then, I isolated. Didn't nobody hear anything from me. Like, that triggered me to a point of going back to like that depression that I felt when I was 14. I never really explained it to anybody, because I didn't feel like anybody deserved that explanation. Well, I did explain to some people, but other people just didn't understand it. And with that, I cut off. Hey, one thing about me, I'll cut people off, you know. I just was by myself for a while. And then April 2023, exam starts rolling in, and this is when I started to be more exposed to Christian content, and started listening to men and women of God and my brothers and sisters in Christ, and leaning on God. And I was like at that stage of where, you know, when you're Like, oh, if you're real, do this. God, if you're real, do that. That was what was going on. And I was learning how he communicates, basically. In May, Sunday released a album, By the Water. And my friend was like, you got to listen to this album. Because me and her, when it comes to music, we're like this. Then this one day, I just played it on my speaker, and I was just sitting and listening. I think I was just waiting. I don't know what I was waiting for. I was just sitting and waiting. I was like, gonna listen to it through. And we got to about the third song, and I just started breaking down, crying. And I was just like, to God, I was literally pleading. I was like, I'm done. I'm finished. I want to go home. But verbatim what I said, I want to go home. Take me home. And he was like to me, I haven't even started with you yet. I said, huh? After all of this, you telling me you haven't started yet? From then, I was like, well, since I'm done with living this life on my own accord, I might as well do it for you, because I can't take myself out. And I remember praying to him, I was like, just give me like a heart attack or something. Like, don't ever. I'm so glad that the Lord never followed through with this, because there's been so much I've experienced since then that I'm just glad that the Lord spared me despite my wishes. Like, he spared me. That just is stuck with me. Like, he hadn't started with me yet at that time, 2023. So then I gave my life that day, and I said the sinner's prayer, and would I say much changed? Not much changed in my behavior. Like, my view on life was different because I wasn't just living for myself. I was like, okay, God wants me to do something, so I'm gonna carry on living this life until it's done. And when he decides that he's done with me and what I've done, I'll be happy. That was it. That's where my desire was now. I got my A-levels. I didn't do great in my A-levels, so I got into uni through clearing. But like the week before I went to uni, I went to the Dominican Republic with my dad and my stepmom, and that was a great holiday, very refreshing, and I just felt so calm and at peace. And it was one of those spa resorts, so bare massages and just buffets and Caribbean food every day. It was great. It was great, and it was much needed, because I felt it was the Lord giving me like fresh air. From here, life is going to be different. Once I got back, did I go to freshers events? Yes. One of my girls from sixth form is in the same uni as me, and we obviously went to freshers events together. And that was when it kind of solidified for me that partying is just not for me. And that's okay. You know, you have to live and you learn, you find out. I started making Christian content on my TikTok in 2023, 2024. And it wasn't really going anywhere. I was just copying what other people were doing. I came across one pastor, Sarah Jakes Roberts. It was an old sermon called Girl Get Up, and it was about going back to who you were before the hurt and the trauma and before people got to you, because that's who God designed you to be. Those initial desires of your heart, not necessarily that it can't change, but that is part of who you were supposed to be. So I was like, okay, so who was I before the hurt? I was a singer. I used to be very performative. I used to like dancing and singing in front of people. I was very expressive and out there, and you know, I didn't mind being center of attention, which is very against who I am now. Considering that was a couple of years ago that I had that realization, I've been slowly working on getting back to that. With that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna need more Christ-like people surrounding me. I started going to a new church, which is basically a youth church. I think I was just overwhelmed by the size of the church to where I didn't feel connected as I probably should have. I was already feeling like I'm struggling to be who I'm supposed to be, and also struggling to connect here with people. Eventually I stopped going to that church. So I started going to that church like 2024, and I remember I got baptized like the second week of being in that church. They gave me so many opportunities to, you know, use my voice, and I was a part of the choir for majority of the time. I just struggled to feel connected, and so I eventually stopped going, which is literally only recently, like this year, 2026. For like 2025, I was posting my music, Christian songs. After the Girl Get Up thing, when I realised that I needed to get back into the performing and the singing and all of that, fear stopped me from posting. Like, I posted here and there. Like, if you look back on my account, you'll see some things, but there was still that fear of past trauma, of like things just going wrong, and I felt like I didn't have the connection. I still feel like I don't have the connections. Like, I just don't know how it's gonna happen. Like, I don't, to this day I don't know. I'm just trying to be obedient by just put the music out there, and the right people will see it. The people who need to see it will see it. But then I also started going to Christian events. So I went to Festival of Praise last year. Then I was going to more concerts and more festivals, and it just was igniting me, like, I should be doing this. Whether it's just me or a group of people, I should be performing at concerts and the festivals. Like, I can do that. Like, I don't know how it's gonna happen. I don't know who I need to meet. All that I know is that my soul is ignited. That's how I know it's what I'm supposed to be involved in. Whether it's just me on stage, I'm not sure. I hope not. Yeah, that is where we're at. Is why I started a YouTube channel, because I was trying to get myself more comfortable with being seen and perceived. This year I've been very consistent, but I feel like I'm still not producing what the Lord is asking me to do, and I'm kind of just making excuses of, well, at least I'm posting, well, at least I'm singing, or at least I'm, making excuses. So here we are now. Hi, my name is Brhianna, and despite all I've been through, I am going back to who the 8-year-old me knows she wants to do. I'll document it here and everywhere. I hope that this speaks to one, younger me, two, any other people in my position or have gone through something similar to me who feel like no one understands them or no one's gone through what they've gone through. The Lord loves you, and not to copy what's out there, not to minimize yourself. I don't even have a scripture to give because I can't think of one. Have faith in God and be open. I think the main thing is be open. When I've experienced great things, it's because I've been open to it. If I hadn't been open to getting to know Christ, I wouldn't have experienced such a great love. That is a whole different thing in itself. I have very much cut a lot of things to keep it minimal. But yeah, that is my story of who I was. And now on to who I am. Join me if you want to. If you don't want to, it's fine. You might see me anyway. That is it. I'm gonna go. I've been talking for 37 minutes.